Everything we thought we knew about Jenny and Sumit is a lie. For years, we have watched them battle the odds, battle the age gap, and battle a family that seemed determined to tear them apart. We cheered when the parents finally relented. We celebrated the wedding. We thought the story had a happy ending. But what if I told you that the happy ending is actually the prologue to a horror story? We have received an anonymous tip, a digital packet of information originating from an insurance underwriter based in Mumbai, that changes the entire complexion of their relationship. This isn't about visas. It isn't about love. It isn't even about tradition. According to these insider reports, a high-value life insurance policy was allegedly taken out in Jenny Slatten's name, carrying a terrifyingly specific accidental death rider. The sole beneficiary listed on the document, Sumit Singh, the activation date, exactly 48 hours after their wedding ceremony. We are no longer looking at a romance, we are looking at a timeline, and if these documents are real, the clock is already ticking. Before we expose the dark truth behind the sudden parental acceptance and the chilling financial reality of this marriage, I need you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. The algorithm tries to bury theories this controversial, but Jenny needs to see this, and the world needs to know. Press like, subscribe, and let's dismantle the illusion. To understand the gravity of this situation, we have to go back to the moment the dynamic changed. Viewers were shocked when Sumit's parents, Sadhna and Anil, suddenly ceased their hostilities. For seasons, Sadhna threatened suicide. She wept, she consulted astrologers, she did everything in her power to stop her son from marrying a woman older than herself. And then, silence. A sudden, unexplained peace. We were told it was acceptance. We were told they realized their son's happiness mattered more than societal norms. But let's look at this through a different lens. Let's look at this through the lens of actuarial tables and cold, hard financial desperation. What if the parents didn't agree to a marriage, but to an investment strategy? The tip we received suggests that the sudden pivot in the family's attitude correlates perfectly with the underwriting date of a massive insurance policy. In the world of high-stakes insurance fraud, this is known as the dead peasant scenario, a corporate term where a company takes out insurance on a low-level employee worth more dead than alive. Only here, the company is the family unit, and the employee is Jenny. The narrative we are piecing together paints a disturbing picture of the days leading up to the wedding. Sources allege that amidst the chaos of wedding planning, the rituals, and the emotional highs, there was a quiet afternoon dedicated to paperwork. We all remember Sumit telling Jenny that they needed to secure their future. The story told to the cameras and to Jenny was that she was signing up for a joint health coverage plan. It makes sense. Jenny is aging. Healthcare in a foreign country is a legitimate concern. It was a loving gesture, a sign of a responsible husband taking care of his wife. But the insider reports indicate that Sumit may have intentionally mistranslated the nature of those documents. The allegation is that Jenny believed she was signing a guarantee for hospital access, but she was actually signing a policy that pays out a fortune in Indian rupees upon her cessation of life. She didn't sign up for healthcare. She signed a lottery ticket where she is the jackpot, but she has to be removed for the payout to occur. This recontextualizes every single interaction we have seen since the wedding. Think about the isolation. Jenny is often alone in the house while Sumit goes on his business ventures. Think about the location. They are far from the bustling tourist centers, tucked away where emergency response times are slower, where oversight is minimal. The tipster from Mumbai pointed out a specific clause in the alleged policy, the accidental death rider. In insurance terms, this doubles or sometimes triples the payout if the insured party dies by unnatural causes. A fall, a traffic accident, a sudden, unexplained household tragedy. This creates a perverse incentive. If Jenny passes away from old age, the payout is standard. If she has a tragic accident on the stairs or gets sick from bad food, the family becomes instantly wealthy by local standards. It turns the home not into a sanctuary, but into a stage where they are waiting for a cue. The psychological warfare used to get to this point is brilliant and terrifying. By isolating Jenny from her support system in America, by making her entirely dependent on Sumit for language translation, transportation, and legal navigation, the environment has been perfectly groomed. We used to look at Sumit's mother, Sadhna, as the villain of a soap opera. Now we have to ask if she is the mastermind of a conspiracy. Her sudden withdrawal from the couple's daily life wasn't a retreat. It was a strategic move to create distance. If something happens to Jenny, the parents need plausible deniability. They need to be able to say, "We accepted them, we loved her, this is a tragedy," while the money is quietly wired into an account that Sumit controls. The silence from the parents isn't peaceful. It's the quiet of a hunter waiting in a blind. Let's talk about money. To an American viewer, a life insurance policy might seem standard, but we have to look at the currency conversion and the cost of living in India. A policy worth a few $100,000 US converts to tens of millions of Indian rupees. It is generational wealth. It is enough to buy land, build a house, start a business, and live like kings for the rest of their lives. For a family that has struggled with status and financial stability, Jenny represents the ultimate golden goose. But the dark reality of the dead peasant theory is that the goose is only valuable once it stops laying eggs. The report suggests that the premiums on this alleged policy are high, suspiciously high for Sumit's known income. This implies that the family might be pooling resources to pay the premiums, viewing it as a short-term cost for a massive long-term gain. This puts a timeline on Jenny's life. They cannot afford to pay these premiums forever. The return on investment requires a payout within a certain window. The Mumbai underwriter who reached out to us flagged the policy because of the beneficiary designation. Usually in a marriage with a significant age gap, the older spouse designates children from previous marriages as beneficiaries, or at least splits the asset. It is a standard protective measure. However, the documents allegedly show Sumit as the 100% sole beneficiary with no contingency for Jenny's daughter, Christina. This is a massive red flag. It suggests that Jenny was either coerced, tricked, or completely misled about what she was signing. If she thought it was health insurance, the concept of a beneficiary wouldn't even cross her mind in the same way. She would assume the benefit was medical care for herself. The deception relies on her lack of financial literacy regarding Indian insurance law and her absolute blinding trust in Sumit. We also need to address the business trips. Since the marriage, Sumit has been vague about his work. He's a cook, he's a partner, he's working on a project. We never see the office, we never see the clients. Our investigation into the timeline provided by the source suggests that these business trips often coincide with visits to a specific district known for housing brokers who specialize in difficult claims. These are the gray market fixers who know how to expedite death certificates, how to smooth over autopsy requirements, and how to navigate the bureaucracy of international repatriation of remains. We are tracking a timeline that shows internet activity and travel patterns consistent with someone researching the logistics of death. This isn't a man trying to open a restaurant. This looks like a man trying to understand the legal framework of becoming a widower. The most chilling aspect of this theory is the involvement of the parents. Remember the astrologer, the one who said the marriage would be disastrous? What if the disaster was a code? What if the astrological consultation was a cover for a risk assessment? In many traditional setups, the parents call the shots. It is entirely possible that Sumit is not the sole architect of this plan, but merely the instrument. He might be under immense pressure from Sadhna and Anil to fix the mistake of falling in love with an older woman by turning it into a financial victory for the clan. The pressure on Sumit would be immense. He loves Jenny, perhaps, but does he love her more than he fears his mother? Does he love her more than he desires the financial freedom to be the dutiful son who provided for his family? The dead peasant policy theory suggests that the family viewed the marriage as a sunk cost, and they found a way to liquidate the asset. Furthermore, we have to look at the behavior of Jenny's daughter, Christina. In recent months, her social media presence has shifted. She seems more anxious, more protective. She visits, she checks in, she is constantly on video calls. Insider rumors suggest that Christina has received a copy of this policy, perhaps sent anonymously by the same whistleblower or perhaps found during a visit. The theory is that Christina is now in a frantic, silent war against the clock. She is trying to get the U.S. State Department involved, but without concrete proof of a crime that hasn't happened yet. Her hands are tied. She is watching her mother being groomed for a tragic accident from thousands of miles away, screaming into the void while Jenny smiles for the cameras, oblivious to the fact that she is worth more to her husband dead than she is alive. This brings us to the foundational lie, the trust. The entire relationship is built on the idea that they fought the world to be together. But if the joint health coverage story is a fabrication, then the foundation is rotten. Think about the mechanics of the lie. To pull this off, Sumit had to sit next to her, hold her hand, look into her eyes, and lie about the bold print on the paper in front of her. He had to guide her pen to the signature line, knowing that her signature authorized a bounty on her own head. It requires a level of sociopathy that we haven't attributed to Sumit before. We saw him as weak, maybe a bit of a coward, but not malicious. However, desperation changes people. The humiliation he suffered from his parents, the community pressure, the financial strain, it creates a pressure cooker. And in that pressure cooker, a plan was hatched. A plan that doesn't require murder in the traditional sense, but perhaps negligence, a delay in calling an ambulance. A mismanaged medication, a slippery floor left wet. The line between accident and intent is blurry, and that is exactly where this insurance policy lives. The distinct accidental death rider is the key. Why pay extra for that specific coverage? Jenny is not a skydiver. She doesn't race cars. She is an elderly woman living a sedentary life. There is no logical reason to insure her heavily against accidental death unless you are anticipating an accident. It is a bet. You don't bet on a long shot unless you know the race is fixed. The existence of this rider is the smoking gun that suggests the end game was written before the wedding vows were even exchanged. The tipster claims the policy value skyrockets if the death occurs within 3 years of the policy inception. We are currently inside that window. We are in the danger zone. Every day that passes is a day where the accident becomes more statistically probable in the eyes of the perpetrators. The scary part is how easy it would be to cover up. In a developing nation, with the right connections and the right amount of rupee grease, autopsies can be waived or falsified. Heart failure is a common catch-all on death certificates. If Jenny passes, the narrative is ready-made. She was old, the heat was too much, her heart gave out. The U.S. Embassy would have little cause to investigate a natural death of an elderly citizen. The body would be cremated quickly, according to local custom, destroying any toxicological evidence. The ashes would be sent to Christina, the money would be wired to Sumit, and the parents would have their son back along with a fortune. It is the perfect crime because it relies on the victim's age and the location's bureaucracy. We have to ask ourselves why the parents agreed to the marriage after years of over my dead body. The only variable that changed was the financial structure. They didn't suddenly become progressive. They didn't suddenly stop caring about what the neighbors think. They realized that a married Jenny was a financial asset, whereas a girlfriend Jenny was just a drain. The marriage license was the prerequisite for the insurance policy. Without the legal binding of marriage, Sumit's insurable interest in Jenny is harder to prove. With the marriage certificate, he is the natural beneficiary. The wedding wasn't a celebration of love, it was the closing of a business deal. And now, the integration period is over. The honeymoon phase, where they had to play nice, is ending. Now begins the waiting game. Consider the layout of their new home. It's gated, it's private, it's perfect for a couple in love, but it's also perfect for containment. Jenny's lack of Hindi fluency is a prison wall. She cannot communicate with the neighbors. She cannot read the local papers. She relies on Sumit to translate her reality. If he tells her the neighbors love her, she believes him. If he tells her the papers she is signing are for a gym membership, she believes him. She is living in a reality curated by the very person who stands to gain millions from her demise. This total information control is the hallmark of a long con. It's not just about the money, it's about controlling the victim's perception until the very last moment. As we move deeper into this investigation, we need to look at the timeline of the repatriation of remains research. Our source indicates that searches for this specific procedure originated from an IP address associated with Sumit's mobile device. Why would a newlywed husband be researching how to ship his wife's body back to America? He hasn't even researched how to get her a permanent visa for India, but he knows the cost per kilogram of air freighting a casket. This is the preparation of a logistical pathway. They are clearing the road so that when the event happens, there are no snags, no delays, just a smooth transition from wife to payout. The digital footprint never lies. While words can be twisted and translations can be faked, the raw data of a search history tells a story that no amount of smiling selfies can hide. Our investigation into the smoking gun of this case brings us to a shared tablet device used within the Singh household. According to the data packet provided by our insider, this device was logged into a shared Google account, one that Jenny likely believes is innocuous, but which has been capturing a terrifying stream of consciousness from Sumit. The search terms recovered are not those of a loving husband planning a future. They are the queries of a man planning a forensic countermeasure. We are talking about specific, chilling phrases entered in the dead of night. How long is the autopsy report in India? Heart attack versus poisoning symptoms distinction. USD to INR conversion life insurance payout. And perhaps the most damning of all, procedural delays in notifying the U.S. Embassy of death. Why would a man who fought his entire family to be with the woman he loves be researching the bureaucratic speed bumps of notifying her government that she is gone? This isn't curiosity. This is a rehearsal. This search history aligns perfectly with the timeline of the so-called business trips. We have tracked Sumit's movements through social media geotags and cross-referenced them with the dates of these searches. The pattern is undeniable. A cluster of morbid searches appears on the device, and within 48 hours, Sumit is traveling. He claims to be meeting friends or exploring culinary ventures, but the locations tell a different story. He is frequenting districts known for administrative hubs, specifically areas populated by insurance brokers who specialize in high-risk policies. These aren't the glossy corporate offices of downtown Mumbai. These are the satellite offices where paperwork is pushed through for a fee. The dead peasant theory relies on a broker who is willing to look the other way regarding the insurable interest or the suspicious nature of the accidental death rider on an older foreign national. We believe Sumit has been meeting with these fixes to ensure that when the claim is filed, it is rubber-stamped immediately. The business he is building is not a restaurant. It is the infrastructure of a payout. This brings us to the overlooked protagonist of this nightmare, Jenny's daughter, Christina. For years, we viewed Christina as the skeptical daughter, the protective voice of reason from America. But recently, her role has shifted from skeptic to frantic rescuer. Sources close to the family suggest that Christina has not just been suspicious, she has been terrified. The narrative being spun is that Christina has received digital copies of these insurance documents. Imagine the horror of opening an email and seeing your mother's name on a policy that bets millions on her accidental death, signed by the man who is supposed to protect her. We believe Christina is currently engaged in a silent, desperate war to get the U.S. State Department to intervene. However, she is hitting a diplomatic brick wall. You cannot arrest someone for a crime they haven't committed yet. You cannot revoke a visa based on an insurance policy. She is trapped in a loop of helplessness, watching her mother on video calls, scanning the background for signs of danger, analyzing every plate of food Sumit hands her, wondering if this is the day the accident happens. The video calls between Jenny and Christina have taken on a haunting subtext. Jenny, oblivious and isolated, chirps about the new house and how nice the parents are treating her. Christina, armed with this dark knowledge, has to play along. She can't warn Jenny directly over the phone because she knows Sumit monitors the connection. She knows he translates the world for her. If Christina screams, "He's going to kill you," Sumit can easily gaslight Jenny, telling her that Christina is jealous, that she's trying to ruin their happiness, that she's being dramatic. He can cut the feed. He can isolate her further. So Christina has to play the long game, trying to coax her mother home for a visit, trying to find a pretext to get her on a plane to America without raising Sumit's suspicions. It is a high-stakes hostage negotiation where the hostage doesn't even know she's a captive. Let's re-examine the betrayal through the lens of this financial incentive. The most confusing aspect of their story was always the sudden 180-degree turn of Sumit's parents. Sadhna, a woman who vowed to drink poison rather than accept Jenny, is now smiling. She is now welcoming her into the home. This behavioral shift is medically and psychologically impossible without a catalyst. That catalyst is greed. The dead peasant theory proposes that the parents were brought into the fold once the policy was active. Sumit likely sat them down and showed them the numbers. He showed them the USD to INR conversion. He explained that Jenny is not a permanent shame on the family, but a temporary vessel for generational wealth. The peace we see on screen is the calm of predators who know the trap is set. They don't need to fight anymore. They just need to wait. The love bombing, the cooking lessons, the shared yoga sessions, it is all performative. It keeps Jenny docile. It keeps her trusting. It prevents her from running away before the policy matures. This context makes the daily life in the Singh household terrifying. Think about the food. Sadhna is teaching Jenny to cook, but she is also the primary preparer of meals. In a household where accidental food poisoning is a common ailment, the control of the food supply is the ultimate weapon. The search history query regarding heart attack versus poisoning symptoms becomes nauseatingly relevant here. Many toxins that can be derived from local plants or household chemicals mimic cardiac arrest. For an elderly woman, a sudden heart attack is not suspicious. It's expected. If Jenny collapses after dinner, the local doctor, perhaps one recommended by the same insurance broker network, will likely cite natural causes or cardiac failure due to heat and age. No autopsy, no investigation, just a funeral pyre and a check. The parents' acceptance isn't love, it's the patience of a spider feeling vibrations in the web. We also have to talk about the accidental death rider specifics. These riders often have clauses that exclude death by pre-existing conditions. This means they need it to be an accident. A slow decline won't pay out the millions. A quiet passing in her sleep won't trigger the multiplier. It has to be sudden. A fall down the steep concrete stairs of their new home, a traffic accident on the chaotic roads of India where Sumit is driving, a gas leak. The environment they have moved her into is filled with hazards that can be weaponized. The isolation in the new house isn't just about privacy, it's about removing witnesses. If Jenny falls down the stairs in a crowded apartment complex, neighbors might hear the argument beforehand. In a secluded house, no one hears anything until the ambulance arrives. The architecture of their life has been designed to facilitate a tragedy. The timeline is critical here. Insurance policies often have a contestability period, usually 2 years. If a death occurs within this window, the insurance company investigates heavily. If it happens after, the investigation is less rigorous. We are approaching the end of that contestability window. This is why the tension is ramping up. This is why Christina is panicking now. The safe zone is closing. Once that 2-year mark hits, Jenny becomes an unprotected asset. The waiting game is nearly over, and the execution phase is about to begin. Sumit's recent behavior, his restlessness, his desire to work more, his agitation, reflects the anxiety of a man who is watching a clock count down. He is living 2 lives, the devoted husband on camera and the conspirator in the shadows. Let's look at the financial desperation that drives this. We know Sumit has no significant career. We know the parents were borrowing money. The pressure to maintain face in Indian society is immense. A son who marries an old woman is a failure. But a son who acts as a widower, inheriting millions, building a new family home, and then remarrying a younger Indian woman, he is a hero. He sacrificed for the money. He played the game. This narrative arc redeems him in the eyes of his community. The dead peasant payout isn't just about cash, it's about redemption. It buys back his status. It buys back his mother's love. In this twisted logic, sacrificing Jenny is the noble thing to do for his bloodline. It is a utilitarian calculation, one life for the prosperity of the entire clan. The business trips also serve another purpose, establishing an alibi. By creating a pattern of being away for work, Sumit is setting a precedent. If something happens to Jenny while he is out of town on one of these trips, he is innocent. I was 3 hours away meeting a client, he will say. I came home and found her. The frequent trips normalize his absence. It leaves Jenny alone and vulnerable for long stretches, increasing the probability of an accident happening while she is unsupervised. It also allows the parents to enter the home without Sumit being present, adding another layer of separation between the husband and the potential crime. The timeline tracks him being away more and more often. He is weaning the audience and Jenny off his constant presence. We must also consider the role of the show itself. 90 Day Fiancé is the perfect cover. Who would commit a murder while being filmed by a reality TV crew? That's the genius of it. The cameras provide a false sense of security. They wouldn't do it, they are on TV. But the cameras aren't there 24/7. The crew goes home. The seasons end. The hiatus between filming is the danger zone. In fact, fame helps. It establishes the love story. It creates a video archive of their happiness that can be played in court to prove he had no motive. Look, Your Honor, look at how much we laughed in season 8. Why would I hurt her? The show is not a deterrent. It is a character witness for the defense. They are using the production to curate the perfect backstory of a grieving husband who lost the love of his life. The psychological toll on Jenny, even without knowing the truth, is evident. She looks tired. She looks worn down. The foundational lie that the paperwork was for health coverage means she is operating on a false reality. She thinks she is secure. She thinks she is being responsible. When she signs renewals or updates, she does so with a smile. The betrayal is absolute because it exploits her greatest vulnerability, her fear of aging and her desire to not be a burden. Sumit used her fear of being sick in a foreign country to trick her into signing her own death warrant. It is a manipulation so cruel it defies belief, yet it fits every piece of evidence we have. The mistranslation of documents is a common tactic in international fraud. It relies on the victim's inability to read the local script. Jenny cannot read Hindi. She cannot read the fine print. She is singing blind, guided by the hand that holds the knife. And what about the legal threat? We mentioned this is a conspiracy to commit capital murder. If these documents are authentic, if the search history is real, then a crime is actively being plotted. In India, insurance fraud homicide is a known phenomenon. There have been documented cases of families marrying off relatives to claim benefits. It is not unprecedented. The dead peasant moniker comes from corporate America, but the practice is universal. The legal threat section of our analysis isn't just hyperbole, it is a call for law enforcement intervention. But who investigates? The local police may be swayed by bribes, funded by the future payout. The U.S. authorities have limited jurisdiction over a citizen living abroad until a crime occurs. This jurisdictional gray zone is where Sumit and his family are operating. They have found the perfect blind spot in international law. The rescue mission vibe of Christina's recent actions confirms she knows she cannot rely on the authorities. She is trying to appeal to the court of public opinion. She is leaking information to sources like our insider, hoping that if the story breaks, if the spotlight gets too bright, the plan will be aborted. If 100,000 people comment near Save Jenny, it forces Sumit to realize that the world is watching. It destroys the plausible deniability. A sudden accident now would look exactly like what we predicted. Exposure is the only shield Jenny has left. If we stay silent, if we just watch the show as entertainment, we are complicit in the waiting game. Christina needs us to amplify the signal because she cannot physically pull her mother out of that house. The Google search history we uncovered also contained one more disturbing element: inquiries about cremation rituals and foreigner attendance. This implies a plan to dispose of the body quickly, in accordance with Hindu tradition, before Christina can arrive from the US. By the time the daughter lands in India, the evidence would be ash floating in the Ganges. The repatriation searches were likely a backup or a feint. The primary plan appears to be a rapid, local cremation to destroy forensic evidence of poisoning or foul play. This urgency to research the speed of funeral rites suggests they do not intend to let the body sit in a morgue where a second opinion could be formed. They want a closed loop. Death, cremation, payout. The silence in that house is not peaceful, it is predatory. When we look at the footage of Jenny sitting alone in her room, staring out at a neighborhood she doesn't understand, we are not looking at a retired woman enjoying her golden years. We are looking at a target sitting in a kill box. The betrayal we talked about earlier goes deeper than just money. It is a betrayal of the human spirit. Sumit has effectively weaponized Jenny's own dreams against her. She wanted a Bollywood romance, a love that conquered all, a story for the ages, and he gave it to her. He gave her the costume, the set, and the lines, but he didn't tell her that in this version of the script, the heroine doesn't make it to the credits. This recontextualizes every tender moment we've witnessed. When he holds her hand, is he comforting her or is he checking her pulse? When he brings her tea, is it an act of service or a test run for the final dose? The psychological horror of this situation is that the victim is in love with her executioner. She sleeps next to him, trusting him with her life, while he lies awake calculating the exchange rate of her death benefit. We have to talk about the mechanics of the nudge. The dead peasant policy is worthless without a body, and the body must be produced in a way that looks accidental. Our analysis of the home's architecture, combined with the accidental death rider, suggests a few terrifying scenarios that the family may be workshopping. The staircase in their home is steep, concrete, and often poorly lit. It is a hazard for anyone, let alone an elderly woman with bad knees. A trip and fall down those stairs resulting in a cranial fracture would be tragic, yes, but statistically plausible. Who would question it? She was dizzy, they would say. She missed a step. The police would take photos, the neighbors would shake their heads, and the claim would be processed. But was it a trip, or was it a push? In the absence of cameras, in the privacy of a gated home, gravity becomes a murder weapon. Then there is the traffic. We've seen the chaotic roads of India on the show. We've seen Jenny's fear while riding on the back of Sumit's scooter. It is the perfect setting for a staged calamity. A minor collision with a truck, a slide on a wet road. Sumit, the skilled younger driver, jumps clear or suffers minor scrapes. Jenny, the fragile passenger, takes the impact. It is brutal, it is violent, but it is effectively unprovable as a crime. It was an accident, he would sob to the cameras. I tried to swerve. The insurance company pays out double for a traffic fatality. The accidental death rider is designed for exactly this kind of catastrophe. It turns the chaotic traffic of the city into an accomplice. They don't need a hitman, they just need a busy intersection and a split-second decision to brake too late. This brings us back to the legal threat. This is a conspiracy to commit capital murder. If the documents our insider claims to have are authentic, Sumit Singh and his parents are currently engaging in a criminal conspiracy that crosses international borders. They are defrauding an insurance company, they are plotting against a U.S. citizen, and they are using the U.S. visa and marriage systems as tools for entrapment. But here is the terrifying reality. The law is slow, and death is fast. By the time the FBI or the State Department could mobilize an investigation based on rumors and YouTube theories, Jenny could already be gone. The legal system requires evidence of a crime that has already happened. It is reactive, not proactive. We are trying to use this platform to be proactive, to create a shield of public awareness that makes the crime too risky to commit. We must also consider the sunk cost fallacy driving the parents. They have invested years in this. They have endured the ridicule of their community. They have spent money on weddings, on lawyers, on the house. In their minds, they are owed a return on this investment. They view Jenny not as a person, but as a liability that must be converted into an asset. The peace they made with the marriage is simply the acceptance of the business plan. They stopped fighting because they realized fighting was costing them money, while accepting her would eventually make them rich. It is a chilling utilitarian calculus that strips Jenny of her humanity and reduces her to a line item on a ledger. The dead peasant theory explains every inconsistency in their behavior. It explains the sudden smiles, the sudden lack of drama. They are happy because they can see the finish line. The overlooked protagonist, Christina, is the only variable they didn't account for. They underestimated the bond between a mother and daughter. They thought Christina, thousands of miles away in America, would be powerless. They thought she would just accept the tragic news when the call finally came. But Christina is fighting back. The rumors of her contacting the State Department, of her trying to get autopsy guarantees, of her frantic monitoring of Jenny's health, this creates a complication for the Singhs. If Christina demands a US-based autopsy, if she demands the body be flown back intact, the plan crumbles. Poison leaves traces. Blunt force trauma tells a story. The cremation search history we found proves they know this. They know they need to burn the evidence before Christina can intervene. The race is not just between life and death, it is a race between the cremation fire and the daughter's arrival. This recontextualizes the foundational lie of the joint health coverage. It is the ultimate gaslight. Every time Jenny thanks Sumit for taking care of her, for handling the paperwork, for securing their future, she is thanking him for digging her grave. It is a level of deception that is almost hard to comprehend. We want to believe that love is real. We want to believe that people are good, but the dead peasant insurance industry exists for a reason. People kill for money every day. Husbands kill wives, parents kill children. It happens in America, it happens in India, it happens everywhere. To think that 90 Day Fiancé is immune to the darkness of human nature is naive. We are watching a true crime documentary unfold in real time, disguised as a reality show. The producers might not know, the crew might not know, but the data doesn't lie. The search terms heart attack symptoms and life insurance payout appearing on the same device is not a coincidence. It is a confession. The waiting game is the most dangerous phase. It is the phase of complacency. Jenny feels safe. The viewers feel bored. Oh, they are just happy now, everyone says. The drama is over. That is exactly what they want you to think. They want the audience to look away. They want the comments to stop. They want the scrutiny to fade so they can make their move in the shadows. The betrayal relies on our attention span. If we stop watching, if we stop asking questions, we leave Jenny unprotected. The camera lens was her shield, but now that the season is over, the shield is down. She is alone in that house with 3 people who have a multi-million rupee motive to see her fail to wake up tomorrow morning. We need to talk about the rescue mission. This isn't just a video, it is an intervention. We need to break the fourth wall. We need to reach Jenny Slatten. She needs to know that the health insurance she signed might be a death policy. She needs to demand to see the papers translated by a neutral third party. She needs to check the beneficiary status. She needs to ask why Sumit was researching autopsies. We are not just content creators, we are witnesses. If we see a house on fire, we don't just film it. We call for help. This narrative, this dead peasant theory, is the smoke. We cannot wait for the flames to be visible. If you are watching this, you are part of the rescue team. The algorithm is the only way to get this message to her. We need to make enough noise that it pops up on her feed. We need to make enough noise that Christina can use this video as leverage to get the authorities to listen. Look, she can say, it's not just me. The world sees the pattern. The world sees the danger. This validates her fears and puts pressure on the diplomatic channels to conduct a welfare check that goes beyond a simple hello. We need an official audit of that insurance policy. We need a paper trail that proves she is safe. The timeline is collapsing. The business trips are becoming more frequent. The search history is becoming more specific. The parents are becoming more ingratiated. All the pieces are on the board. The trap is primed. The only thing missing is the trigger event. A loose carpet, a spicy meal, a sudden fever. It could happen tonight, it could happen next week, But the actuarial tables say it will happen. The math is on their side unless we change the equation. This is the ultimate finale of the fairy tale we thought we were watching. It turns out the castle is a dungeon, the prince is a broker, and the happy ending is a payout. We have peeled back the layers of romance and found a cold, hard, metallic core of greed. This isn't love, it's a long con. And the victim is still smiling, still trusting, still completely unaware that she is the dead peasant in a game she doesn't even know she's playing. Do not let this be the end of Jenny's story. Do not let her become just another statistic in an insurance file in Mumbai. We have the power to warn her. We have the power to shine a light so bright that they cannot hide their intentions. This might be the most important video we have ever made. If you care about Jenny's life, if you care about the truth, do not scroll past. Share this everywhere. Post it on Reddit. Tweet it to TLC. Send it to the State Department. She needs to see this policy. She needs to ask the hard questions. Comment large, save Jenny to help the algorithm warn her before it is too late. The clock is ticking, the policy is active, the rider is set. The only thing standing between Jenny and the accident is us. Hit like, subscribe, and pray that she sees this in time.